guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 3 high protein meals that you can have for lunch or dinner and that are perfect for meal prep. So personally these days, what I like to do is make a meal for dinner and then have that for, the next couple of meals, and then maybe a couple of days later I'll make a new meal and I'll have that as meal prep for the next couple of meals as well. And I just find that works better than making all the meals at once, because then you have nice fresh meals. Whereas if you make like 3 meals at once for meal prep, I sometimes find that I don't actually get through all the meals, and also you're eating them at a later stage when maybe they're not as fresh. You could definitely freeze these and then of course they would last a lot longer, but I personally prefer to have them fresh in the fridge because I think they just taste better than when you freeze it and reheat it. But anyway, let's jump straight into the recipes. So first off, we have a delicious bolognese sauce, and today I have paired that with pulse pasta. So I chose pulse pasta because it is super high in protein. I think it's at least 20 grams of protein per serve, which is really amazing. But actually this packet says it had 2 serves, and to be honest, it was a lot of pasta, so I split it into 3 serves and I put more sauce because I'm a big sauce person and I love having a lot of pasta sauce to the ratio of pasta, if you get what I mean. So to start off, you just need to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to a pan, and to that we are adding in half of a brown onion, as well as a handful of cherry tomatoes. And you just want to saute that down for a few minutes until the onions become translucent. Then I'm adding in 1 package of plant-based mince. Here I'm using the brand NUTRITIONAL, which is from Woolworths. I will link it in the description box below if you want to check it out. But I'm sure, there's lots of different plant-based beef minces on the market, and you can, use whatever one works for you. Then I've added in a jar of pasta sauce, as well as half of that jar filled up with some water just to get the last bits of the pasta sauce in there. And again, you just want to cook that for a while until it is nice and well cooked. And then I have just cooked up some pulse pasta here, and you just want to stir your sauce into the pasta. So as I mentioned before, I have used a lot of pasta sauce here because I really like it when the ratio is like double as much sauce to the amount of pasta, because I just think that tastes better. But obviously you can add in more pasta or use less sauce if that works for you. So in total I made 3 serves of the pasta, and each serve, I think it had around 38 grams of protein, or 40. I'll put the exact macros in the description box below. But this is a really high protein meal, and I really love this plant-based beef mince. It's so yummy. I got it from Woolworths, so definitely check this brand out if you haven't already. I've tried quite a few different beef mince brands, and this is definitely my favorite, and it's super tasty. It's slightly sweet, so I did add in like a bit of salt and other spices to kind of balance that out, but I think it works really well in this bolognese sauce. And yeah, it's high protein, it's so easy to make. It only took me probably about 20 minutes to make the pasta and the pasta sauce. So it's a great quick meal if you want something quick and easy that's also high in protein, and it lasts really well. So I had it for the following 2 lunches after I had it for dinner this night. So it is a great one for meal prep. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. And then straight on to number 2. So the second recipe I made this week was a quinoa roasted vegetable salad. So I have done this type of salad in the past with couscous. However, today I decided to use quinoa because it is high in protein and it's also gluten-free. So if you are gluten-free, you can use quinoa instead of couscous and have the same delicious taste and flavor as a kind of couscous vegetable salad. So that's what I went for with this dish. You can serve it either hot or cold, so it's really great for meal prep if you're going to be going out to work or something, but it's also great when you're at home because you can heat it up and have it nice and warm if it's a colder day. It's quite versatile, and it's also super simple, just like the last recipe. This one took me a little bit longer in total because I did have to roast all the veggies, and that took just under, I think about 40 minutes to cook all the veggies and the chickpeas in the oven. You don't have to cook the chickpeas in the oven, you can definitely just have them raw. However, it just makes them a little bit crispier and gives them a bit more flavor when you put all those spices in with it. So once you have cooked your vegetables, all you do is mix all the different ingredients together. And I had some pre-cooked quinoa here, but quinoa is honestly so easy to cook. You just cook it on the stove with some water as per the packet instructions. And this salad actually ended up making about 4 serves. I had planned to make about 3, but it ended up making 4 because it was just a lot of quinoa and it was so yummy. I also served it the next day with some hummus, which isn't in this shot because I was really tired that night, so I didn't end up making the hummus, but I made the hummus the next day. And so for my leftovers, I topped it with some hummus and it was so good. I love homemade hummus. I actually have a recipe for homemade hummus if you want to check that out. I will leave it in the link up here as well as in the description box below. It's so good and it's great to top on this delicious salad. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Honestly, it's super tasty. And on to number 3. So the third high protein meal for this video is a Mexican bean chili with smoky tofu. So you could definitely use smoked tofu if you have that available. However, I just used plain tofu and added in a lot of smoked paprika. I love smoked paprika and it just makes this taste so smoky and delicious. And it ended up being like kind of like a soup in a way because I added in a bit extra water. If you want it thicker, don't add in the extra water. But personally, I kind of liked it like this. It kind of felt like a taco Mexican soup, and then with the little roasted sweet potato on top and the guacamole. It honestly was so satisfying. I felt so full afterwards, and it's packed full of protein because you've got those 3 different types of beans as well as the tofu, and then all those added in veg. You can add in whatever veg you have on hand. Personally, I had zucchini and a little bit of capsicum, so that's what I added in today, but you know, you could definitely add in something like carrot, corn, peas, anything like that would go really well in this Mexican chili. It's obviously not super traditional, so if you are Mexican yourself, I apologize. I do not mean to be offensive. This is kind of just my interpretation of this, and I'm trying to make it higher in protein because the beans alone are quite high in protein. However, there's also a lot of carbs and fiber in with that, so I wanted to add in a little bit more protein with the tofu, and honestly it goes really well. It tastes really good. This is definitely a great meal if you're trying to increase your protein, which is actually what I'm trying to do at the moment because I'm trying to gain some extra muscle, so I'm upping my protein intake a little bit at the moment. So that's why I wanted to add in the tofu here, but if you're not a massive fan of tofu, you can totally leave that out and just add in an extra can of beans.
So the first step is to make our sweet potato chips. So all I've done here is cut up the sweet potato nice and finely. The more fine you cut it up, the more crispy your chips will be. But personally, I like them slightly thicker. So then I'm just topping it with some spices. Here I've got some garlic powder. Now I'm going in with a bit of cumin as well as some paprika. You could use smoked paprika here if you want it extra smoky, but I just used regular paprika. And then we're going to put them in the oven for around 40 to 45 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. Now onto the Mexican beans. I'm just starting off with a little bit of garlic olive oil as well as half of a brown onion. You want to stir that through and cook it down until it's a little bit translucent. And then it's time to add in some spices. Here I've got some smoked paprika as well as some cumin. And just stirring that through again. I added a little bit extra olive oil here because it was starting to stick to the pan a bit. But if you don't want to use too much oil, you could always add in a little bit of water or stock. Now I'm just adding in my fresh vegetables. So I had a little bit of capsicum as well as some zucchini. Here I did actually have to add some water because it was really starting to stick to the pan a bit. So I just added in a splash of water and that just makes it all cook a bit easier. Now I'm adding in some extra smoked paprika as well as the tofu. So you could cut up the tofu into small pieces if you prefer it like that, but I just decided to crumble it in, kind of like a scrambled tofu, but not. So I put in a whole block of tofu, but again, if you don't want as much, just add in maybe half a block. But here I was really going for a high protein meal, so that's why I added in the full block. And then I'm adding in 1 can of diced tomatoes. I did end up adding another can a bit later, as well as a bit of water just to get out the last bits from the can. So as I said earlier, if you want this to be thicker, definitely don't add in the extra water. But I kind of like that it was a bit like a soup because, I don't know, it's just really satisfying and filling that way. So I added in 1 can of mixed Mexican beans. This has pinto beans, black beans, and kidney beans, as well as 1 teaspoon of beef style vegetable stock. It's the Muscle brand. It just adds a kind of, you know, beefy flavor to it, which makes it more like a chili. And then here I'm adding in that 2nd can of tomatoes, and you just want to let that simmer down so all the flavors get well combined, and also taste it and see if it needs any more spices. So here I did decide to add in some more paprika, smoked paprika, cumin, and a little bit of chili as well. I also decided to add in some oregano and a bit of salt and pepper, and then I just let that cook for a bit longer with the lid on.
So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. That is the final recipe for today. Here you have 3 beautiful high protein meals that you can use as meal prep or just for a nice dinner one night or lunch, whatever you like. I hope you enjoyed these recipes and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite recipe from this video. I think my favorite was, it's kind of hard. I liked all of them pretty equally. I think the quinoa salad is really good because it's so versatile and you can have it as like a hot meal or a cold meal on the go. So that's probably like the most practical meal, but honestly they all taste so yum and I'm definitely gonna make them all again. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!